So you've come to the fore recently by taking on the giant, the whale of London establishment, which is the TfL in this ruling. So do you want to give a background as to what made you guys sort of like roll up your sleeves and take on the giant that is Transport for London? Because I know I've had issues as a local councillor with TfL, and we had to do a bit of direct action or threaten a bit of direct action just to get a small bit of change from them. How did you like, what made you want to take them on in the court? What's the background of this court case? Do you want to give the listeners a view
Yeah.
as to what happened?
Yeah, sure. But as I just touched on a few minutes ago, the UTAG became into being because when we first started taking court action against Transport for London, we did it in the name of my other organisation, the United Cabbies Group. But because we are a cooperative and not a limited company, we needed a limited company for what our legal team called an entity. So if there are any costs or any complication, there needs to be a legal entity to make that happen. So we formed UTAG, which is a company limited by guarantee, on the advice of our legal team and accountants. And we knew that if we did not do something soon, because the way that TfL were not enforcing the regulations, and at the Greater Assembly, they did an investigation into them some years, investigation, and their opinion, and they came out, and this is on record, that as a regulator they were woefully inadequate, and they're not getting any better. That in my opinion, that was a high for them, but they've gone downhill ever since. But that's why we UTAG started, and we know, as I'm sure you do, legal action costs a lot of money. If you want to get the good QCs, the good barristers, you have to pay for that. And so myself and my fellow director Trevor got in touch with some senior stakeholders in the taxi industry, fleet owners, garage owners, people that supply meters, credit card, a lot. And we had a meeting with them and explained that, my colleague Trevor, listen guys, if we go down, you're coming with us. Not as a threat, it was we rely on each other. We are a symbiotic relationship. You supply what we need, we come to you for what we need. And I think in all my years in the cab trade, the first time that there's been unity between the drivers and the suppliers, and they saw it straight away, and they said, absolutely, let's see if we can do this. And so we got donations from cab drivers, the stakeholders put in, and we built up a nice amount of money to start taking this legal action against TfL. And we've had a few cases, we've been to court a few times, not always been successful. But we had to take TfL and street space on because our view was this was being pushed under the guise of COVID. It wasn't because of COVID. It was another agenda that they saw COVID as, that's a good reason to push this through. And we went to our QC about it because we were being the taxi trade, who I represent, so I can only really speak for them. We were being denied access to more and more roads, which doesn't really impact upon us as taxi drivers, but as importantly, it impacts upon our passengers and the disabled passengers. So it was costing them more to do the same journey because the road we could go down this week is now blocked to us, but public transport buses were allowed to go to have access. So we met our legal team in the temple, and we gave a few examples of where we were being prevented from going. And what they said is we need to pick the right fight to have, because if we lose and it becomes case stated, very, very difficult to take on another scheme. And eventually we looked at Bishopsgate, as TfL called it, the Gate Bus Corridor. And we decided, with guidance from our QC and barrister, this was the one to take on, because that takes on the special status of taxis, the Equalities Act. It ticked every box that we needed to fight for our trade and for passengers. And decided to go after that one. It was expensive. It took a hell of a lot of work, hundreds and hundreds of hours. And you've spoken with Karen. Karen did a huge amount of work, and she was like a terrier with the councils, trying to get us access. Some councils were great, going all part of the street space. Some councils were great. Hammersmith and Fulham were good. Even Southwark gave us a couple of bus gates we could go through, but most of them stuck their heels in. But TfL was giving them money to implement this, and so we decided we had to take it on, and that's why we did. And thank goodness we very, very strong. Our legal team were top class, and we won 4 out of the 5 grounds. We went after, that we challenged.